Hello, my darling. I just wanted to introduce myself here as the creator of this channel, Anna Dreams. Um, I decided to start investing more time and space in this channel. And so, as a result, I thought I'd introduce myself because so far, what you've seen of me are just a few random videos that I pieced together and that I very lovingly edited and filmed over the course of a few years. And I haven't really been present here much. Yes, my name is Anna, and I would say that I'm a content creator, and my main platform has been Instagram. So the reason I haven't really been present on YouTube is because for the last, I think, 7 years or 8 years, my main content creation has happened on Instagram. However, I realized that I actually much prefer longer form content, especially after spending some time on Instagram and creating content for Instagram. I realized that the short clips that I do there are not conducive to me expressing longer ideas, and I tend to have like a philosopher's mind, and I have really big complex ideas that I like to be able to discuss and explore in my content. So being pinned down to like a minute and a half is not something that I'm actually really interested in. So, with that in mind, I'm making this video to say that on this channel, you will begin to see more of me. I will be uploading a lot of my Instagram videos on here, and these will be in a portrait mode, so you'll get to see me in a portrait mode. And then when those longer videos finish there, then I will come back in landscape, typical YouTube mode. Why do I do this? Why do I share these things? Why do I create content? I create content because I feel like I'm an artist, actually, at heart, in my being. I feel like I'm a mix in between an artist, a philosopher, a poet, a musician, and I really love this aspect of myself. And I think that especially in today's landscape, voices like mine add a lot of value. So just to tell you a little bit of my story, I am a Romanian woman living in the UK. I've lived here for about 9 years. I was born in Romania during communism. I was 4 years old when the revolution happened in Romania, so I had a very interesting childhood where I grew up in a sort of a wild west of a nation turning capitalistic from being completely communist beforehand. I have been reading philosophy, history, literature, and all sorts of other things since I was a child. So I've always been an avid reader and an avid thinker. I started writing short essays and poetry when I was 15. I was writing short stories. I was writing plays for me to interpret. I used to interpret plays on stage and monologues that I wrote or that I found in various places. I'm a really deep thinker, and I'm also inclined to be spiritual. So I would consider myself a little bit of a scientist in the way that I observe the world. So in the past 9 years of being here in the UK, it's been a really interesting story the way I arrived in the UK as well. But in the past 9 years of being here, I've delved really deeply into the world of spirituality, understood and perceived through the lens of my own body. So rather than going to retreats and like seeing spiritual gurus, I did something very different, which was I kept a small job, part-time cleaning job, self-employed, and for about 3 years I didn't really have that many connections. I kept to myself and I spent my time studying and meditating and observing my body. I have been trained in Vipassana, that is a method of meditation which comes to the body, in which we observe the body in a equanimous way, in which we don't judge what is happening in the body as good as bad, we just observe it. So I've been trained in that since I was 24. That's when I attended my first Vipassana 10-day silent retreat. So when I was 30 and I moved to England, I already had that framework in mind. So based upon that framework, I was able to go deep in my body and feel things and create a deep sense of embodiment, in which I basically unified my conscious awareness of my thoughts and perception to my felt sensation of what is happening in the body. So in the meantime, again, in that 9 years, I also trained as a sound therapist, and I also trained as a breathwork therapist, because I was very, very interested in human optimization. I tend to have the mind of a visionary. So I think in broad, complex ideas, and I look at everything as complex ecosystems. And then the way I see things is I kind of take different parts and I discuss them and I see them individually, and then I like to put them in the scheme of the grander whole. I studied permaculture intensely, avidly for years before I moved to the UK. So the way in which I understand complex human dynamics is very much influenced by the beauty of permaculture, which sees everything as ecosystems. So I look at everything from the dimension of ecosystems. So where that is ecosystems of thoughts, ecosystems of emotions, ecosystems of human beings, and then ecosystems of the planet. So yeah, I really love to hold complex, broad ideas. I look at politics, I look at the way we live in our homes, I look at the way we clean or cook for ourselves. So I go through the various layers of human existence, and I study all of this from the perception of the felt sensation in the body, rather than the intellectualized way in which we see all of these things, because I come from the understanding that the main issues that we see in the world today are stemming from a deep disassociation that we have in between the mind and the body. So when enough of us are very traumatized, or generally what happens when a human being or a population is traumatized, is that they become, as a survival mechanism, they become disassociated from their bodies. So we are not actually able to feel our bodies, we're not able to feel our feelings. We intellectualize everything. So what I'm doing through my work, I'm learning how to bring the awareness back into the body and understand how the world is created. Basically, the body stores our subconscious. 5%, about roughly 5% of who we are, or who we think we are, comes from the conscious mind, the things that we're aware of. Me being aware of speaking to you right now, and of the fact that I picked this thing up. But 95% of it actually stores from my subconscious. So the fact that I went, as I was talking to you, to pick this thing up at a very specific moment in this conversation, and the fact that I'm looking at it now, about 95% of it comes from different patterns and different ways of being that I have built within my body over the course of my existence. And a lot of it is actually subconscious, and they're not things that I'm always aware of. So by bringing my awareness back into my body, by bringing my awareness back into my emotions and my felt sensations, what I'm doing is that I'm bridging the 5% consciousness to the rest of my body, which stores the 95%, which essentially means that I'm creating neural pathways which are able to feel the body and to explore the body at a much deeper, complex level. So from the understanding of that, and from the understanding that the majority of humans are running on outdated programs which sort of like autopilot their lives, I look at humanity as this complex system in which individuals inevitably end up creating things, again, not consciously but unconsciously. And I am very interested in learning how to change that, so that the majority of us can, or enough of the population can, bring their awareness back into the body, so that we can override the old destructive patterns that we find ourselves in, and learn how to cultivate and bring in new patterns. I don't know if that makes sense. That kind of makes sense to me. And of course it makes sense to me because it's in my own head and I'm thinking about it 24/7, because this is my life. This is who I am. I am a thinker and a feeler, and I'm learning how to be both. I'm learning how to acquire the art of being both. So on this channel you can expect to see my face like this a lot, where I just come and sit in front of the camera and I talk to you like this. Some of it will be in landscape mode. I don't like the fact that I'm speaking from my phone, and personally, to me, the fact that my eyes are going here and there, because it's difficult to always focus here on the camera, is a bit annoying. So you might actually see me in landscape mode. I hope that that's not going to be a problem for you. So yeah, I will be talking about all sorts of topics that cross my mind, and mainly about embodiment, about pleasure and about the blockages in us being able to receive that. And also, I am getting ready to be able to share some more like complex ideas about other topics that are a bit more sensitive. But for that, I also need to learn how to tap into deep reservoirs of self-confidence and self not giving a fuck. So I'm still preparing myself for that. Anyway, with that in mind, I want to thank Instagram for limiting my ability to create longer form videos so that I can finally embrace YouTube, because I am definitely, by definition, much better suited for YouTube. And thank you, Instagram, for bringing me to my senses. And with that in mind, I hope that you will enjoy the ride. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you in the next one.